Israeli leaders, Israeli strategists have recognised the increasing pressure, the enormous amount of pressure that their regime is under from the international community, from millions of ordinary people like you and I around the world supporting their boycott, divestments and sanctions campaign against Israel, who are increasingly recognising that Israel resembles an apartheid state, who are increasingly recognising that Israeli leaders ought to be brought before the International Criminal Court, who are increasingly recognising that Israel is a pariah state and Israel is a terrorist state. They're feeling that pressure, and my view is that they felt in their insanity, in their panic, in their hysteria, they felt that the best way to react to this peace flotilla was to deliberately carry out an act of mass murder in order to deter future aid flotillas from sailing to the waters of Gaza.
Gaza's families are completely unable to access basic food and lack the means to purchase even the most basic items such as soap, stationery, drinking water. It is clear that this blockade is unsustainable. It is no wonder that more and more people are prepared to run the gauntlet from around the world to get these much needed supplies through.
When you hear about precision bombing, what that actually means is power stations, water treatment plants, hospitals, aid distribution points. Between 2002, 2006 and finally with Operation Cast Lead at the end of 2008, Gaza has been deliberately de-industrialised. There is no electricity there, running water, sewage treatment plants have broken down, which has led to skyrocketing rates of child mortality and deaths among the old and the sick. And this is deliberate. This is not accidental, this is a targeted strategy. And this has to stop. It's possibly not that well known that Australia sells military equipment to Israel. Last year, one that we're aware of, $41 million worth of body armour made in Australia and sold to Israel. It's time for an arms embargo. If Israel chooses to behave like a rogue state, then it's going to be treated like one.
Free, free Palestine! 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 Who here wants to remain on the pavement, bearing in mind that you may be liable to arrest if you remain on the pavement here?
Mr. Netanyahu, when you invade the Gaza and kill and wound thousands of Palestinian men, women and children, these are the actions of a terrorist state. In a sovereign country, you are breaking international laws, and these are the actions of a terrorist state. When you use Australian passports, amongst others, to carry out your dirty work, this is not the actions of a friend. This is the actions of a terrorist state. When you attack an aid ship, bringing aid to the people of Gaza in international waters, this is an act of piracy and the act of a terrorist state. When you murder in cold blood a woman by the name of Rachel Corrie by running her over with a bulldozer and then reversing over her body again, this is the action of a terrorist state.
Israel has refused to publicly publish the list of prohibited items for Gaza. Do you know why? Do you know the reason that Israel has cited for why they won't publish the list of prohibited items? They claim that it's because of national security. There is an Israeli human rights group, and that's a significant point, a Jewish Israeli human rights group, Gisha, that is actually taking the Israeli government to court. It's petitioned the Israeli government 4 times demanding that they publish this list of prohibited items. And finally, after 4 legal attempts, they did succeed in forcing the government to publish a partial list of prohibited items. Now that partial list of prohibited items includes things like coriander, honey, chocolate, cement, building materials of all kinds, crayon, school paper, notepads, everything you can imagine is prohibited.
Don't have any excuse excuse Israel. What you're doing to the Palestinians is so much more than what's happened to you. You know, you can't just use any excuse on you because there is no excuse.
The most important thing people need to realise is that Israel's crimes could not be committed without the support of other countries like the United States and like Australia. So it's our responsibility to call on the Australian government to publicly call for the siege to be broken, to publicly break all relations with Israel. The Australian government should expel Israeli ambassadors. This country should take a stand for justice in international affairs, and that means we should break all relations with Israel. Israel kills! Israel murders! Israel kills! Israel murders! Israel kills! Israel murders! Israel kills! Down with Israeli piracy! We say Gaza must be free! Down with in our thousands! In our millions! We are all Palestinians! In our thousands! In our millions! We are all Palestinians! And we stand in solidarity with the international working class, the people of Palestine, and all freedom-loving peoples of the world. Because no one can be free while other people are oppressed, shot at, exterminated. No one is free.
I know for a lot of you today, you don't think that Palestine is far away. But for anyone who thinks we're in Australia, you know, what can we do? Well, I would just urge that there's a real point. There's a real point in protesting because the Australian government is one of the biggest supporters of Israel after the United States.
So one of my friends was on these boats, and in the attack, he was shot in the leg and left to bleed for 12 hours before he was hospitalized.
Shame, Israel!
He was there with his wife and his younger sister. They were taken captive. They were released. A day later. My friend was left to bleed and was not hospitalized for 12 hours. He's still in a hospital in Israel as we speak.
Shame!
And I think, you know, looking around, you know, there are not just Muslims here. There are not just Palestinians here. We have a lot of different nationalities, and but the one thing that is in common is we are in support of the Gaza people. And I think you should look around and really congratulate yourself for coming here and supporting something worthwhile.
Okay, the first demand is for the Australian government to unequivocally, unreservedly call for the lifting of the siege of Gaza. Foreign Minister Stephen Smith and the Prime Minister himself have made very ambiguous statements in relation to the Australian government's position on the blockade of Gaza. Prime Minister Rudd has said that he wants to see more humanitarian supplies reach Gaza. Foreign Minister Stephen Smith has said that more relief aid should reach Gaza, but when asked directly the question on ABC Radio, does the Australian government support the lifting of the blockade of Gaza? Foreign Minister Smith ummed and ahed and said, no, we want to see more humanitarian aid. So we call the Australian government to call for the total and unconditional lifting of the blockade of Gaza. The second demand is that we call for the immediate expulsion of the entire Israeli diplomatic mission in Canberra. And the third demand, and as I said on Tuesday, at Tuesday's rally, this is sort of the most dramatic demand, but this is a dramatic crime that demands a dramatic response. We call for the Australian government to effective immediately cut all economic, military and diplomatic ties with Israel.
Get up in the morning and I remember those starving children. Nobody gives a damn, but baby, don't cry. Wipe those tears from your eyes. Brothers and sisters, we gotta make a change. We need to stand up, cause we're all sitting down. We turn a blind eye to what we know is around. Oh, stand up before it's too late. More people are dying each and every day.